First thing you had to do on each problem was give me the factored form. Okay? So the first question I would ask you is, what is the factored form for this equation? So in the equation, since there's no a coefficient, there's no number in front of x, I need two numbers that multiply to give me 10 and combine to give me 7. So a lot of times what I'll see students do on the side of their paper is say, what are numbers that multiply to give me 10? Oh, I could do 10 and 1. What else? 2 and 5. And 2 and 5 multiply to give me 10 and combine, meaning they add to give me 7, correct? So those are going to be what I put in for factors. Being able to give that on the test was your first 5 points. From there, your next 5 points were to be able to give me the x-intercepts. So right now in Edpuzzle, type in what you got for x-intercepts. You should have gotten -2, 0 and -5, 0. And the way you got that was you set each of these equal to 0. Meaning you set up a problem that said x minus 2 equals 0. You subtracted 2 from both sides. And you got x equals -2. But the x-intercept is a point. You need an x value and you need a y value. So it's on the x-axis, the y value is 0. Same thing over here. You did the second set of parentheses, x plus 5 equals 0. You subtract 5 from both sides, you get x equals -5. But it's not just -5, it's -5, 0, because it's a point. We're going to go on to the y-intercept. This is why I said everybody should have gotten at least 20 points on this test. Because the y-intercept is your C value. It's the number with no letters. So the y-intercept is 10. But remember, that's a point. It's on the y-axis. Anything on the y-axis has an x value of 0, a y value of 10. So even if all you could do on this test was factor it, give me the x-intercepts, and give me the y-intercepts, you would have gotten 15 out of 25. I'm just figuring out on my calculator what that is. That's a 60%. If all you can do is factor x-intercept and y-intercept, you'll have a D. But you also needed to do a vertex and an axis of symmetry. So I'm going to erase what I have here to talk about the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So I'm first going to ask you to put into Edpuzzle what the vertex, but I don't want you to just put what the vertex is. I want you to put what you got. What you have on your paper as the vertex, knowing it's probably wrong. Okay? You're going to put that into Edpuzzle. Now we're going to go through how to figure out what it really is. So there's an A coefficient, there's a B coefficient, and there's a C coefficient. The A coefficient is in front of the x squared. The B coefficient is in front of the x. The C coefficient is by itself. Okay? The formula for axis of symmetry is this. I take the B coefficient, which I can see is +7, and I do the opposite of it. Okay? I take 2 times the A coefficient. And in this problem, the A coefficient is 1. So I get negative 7 over 2. And if I use a calculator, but since there was a negative, it's negative 3.5. So your axis of symmetry should have either been negative 7 over 2 or negative 3.5. So now I want you to type into Edpuzzle. You're actually going to have to write a few sentences as to what it is you did wrong. Whether it was, I didn't understand the B and the A thing, I didn't do the negative, I didn't multiply by 2, I had no clue what to do. I want you to type in some type of reflection as to what it is you needed to do. Okay? Now, that's the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is the only thing that is not a coordinate. It's a line. Technically, it's x equals. That's the only thing that should just have a number. Everything else should have a number, comma, another number. So now we're going to go on to the vertex. And I want you to type in to Edpuzzle what you actually got as the vertex. Not what the correct answer is, what you got. And it might be, I never got that far. Okay? So now for the vertex, you need to take what you got for the axis of symmetry and plug it in for x in the original equation. So the original equation was x squared. So now you have to do negative 3.5 squared plus 7 times x. So 7 times negative 3.5 plus 10. I kept saying in class to do this in the calculator. I don't think a lot of you did because I was getting a lot of 3.5 times 2. Since it's a negative, I can just do 3.5 squared. And that's 12.125. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. This is a positive and this is a negative. 7 is positive, 3.5 is negative. So I know that when I multiply them together, I'm going to get a negative. That way I can just put in my calculator 7 times 3.5. And I get 24.5. Now I have to do all of this. 12.25 minus 24.5 plus 10. But the issue is the vertex is also an ordered pair because it's a point. And a point needs an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. The x-coordinate is the axis of symmetry. The y-coordinate is what we just found. Negative 2.25 is not the vertex. It's part of the vertex. If I plotted this point, that's what I would get. The x-intercepts, the y-intercepts, and the vertex are all points. They have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate.